Alright, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to another best ball stream. Today we are going to be streaming on good old Draftkings. A couple best ball millionaire drafts. Yeah, looking forward to it. On Saturday we have the full schedule now, so good times. Yeah, let's dive right into it here. So far we do have 33 entries, so probably do 2 today, so get up to 35. I think that's fine for right now where we want to be. Let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, got 3 people currently in here. Weekends, kind of fun time to draft. Typically a morning kind of during the week drafter, so you see a lot of the same few people, a couple of regulars, a little more regular drafters in there, kind of like it kind of feels a little more underdoggy, which kind of everyone stays in their own little lanes and scripts. Weekends it can get a little crazy. You have definitely more casuals, people maybe using the ticket that they've had in their account for a couple weeks. So yeah, you can definitely catch some more inexperienced drafters, but with inexperience can come some wild cards as well, where they just do a bunch of crazy stuff. But I always welcome that, because I think any good best ball drafter, really all we want in a given room is just unique combos. So the wild card drafters are really the only way to get truly unique combos, so it's kind of what we're looking for. And obviously, throughout the draft process, ADP is going to shift, and combos we can get now are not going to be available later in the summer, for a variety of reasons. But could be injuries, could be just depth charts being cemented in place. But right now is a good time just to kind of take your shots, especially at the end drafts, just with how ADP really doesn't matter after a certain point. So also, people like to drink on the weekends, so maybe somebody's gonna be drunk in here. That's fun. Talk about wildcard drafting. Got 6 right now. CM Spear, Washubik, Team Skank, Tree Dog, and FT03. Sounds like a fun room, if you ask me. The thumbnail for today's video did feature Michael Pittman Jr., who, if anyone's seen my previous drafts, one of my favorite targets for my kind of running back heavy early teams. I think on those kind of robust or fragile running back teams, you do need to, hit on some receivers with upside. And, to the naked eye, Michael Pittman Jr. may seem kind of like a boring floor guy, but I do think that he also gives you, definitely the upside of being the Steelers' #1 receiver, for sure. It's kind of an ambiguous situation there where he's, getting a big contract. DK Metcalf last year, if you watch the Steelers, did not have, a great rapport with Rodgers. Didn't seem to be on the same page very often, and, just kind of struggled to get him the ball a lot. And Rodgers does have a noodle for an arm, so a guy like MPJ, who's going to be kind of working the middle of the field, just volume guy, doesn't need to necessarily be the big red zone guy, but just, he should be. But regardless, just on a full PPR site, or even a half PPR for that matter, I think he's going to have a lot of just catch volume, and really kind of in that 100, 110 range. We're just looking for guys that, could run out as the team's #1 receiver. And there's a couple guys. Jacoby Myers goes a little ahead of him, and he's kind of in a similar spot where, you can kind of make a case for any of those 3 Jaguars receivers. And that's, if you do think that one of them is going to take the reins a little bit as the #1 guy, it's going to be very valuable. If they all kind of wash each other out, I still think there's value there. But yeah, it's kind of a similar situation there where you don't need an injury necessarily to have a guy like vault into the top spot. Just maybe he, like I said, DK Metcalf, not as exciting. He's slowing down a little bit as he gets older. Still a great player, but Rodgers is the kind of guy that's gonna, he gave Alan Lazard like 7 to 8 targets every game when he wasn't even a good player. So if he has a good rapport with Pittman, could definitely emerge as kind of the guy there in Pittsburgh. That's what we want, to take a flyer on. In addition to what I said before, where he, is just a good floor guy as well. Week to week should get you, 10 to 11 points pretty easily, even in his kind of down games. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's a good spot. I mean, they also added, Jeremy Bernard as well in I think it was the first or second round receiver. So, new coaching staff coming in. Mike McCarthy, say what you want about the guy, but definitely think he's a better just offensive mind than Mike Tomlin ever was. So even if the Steelers aren't a winning football team in 2026, definitely could be a good spot for fantasy points. That's kind of my, I just think he's underpriced is what I'm trying to get at here with Michael Pittman Jr. Underpriced with upside. And when we're drafting running backs early, that's what we're looking for, for receivers later. And, just looking in that range, like, Romeo Doubs, obviously if A.J. Brown trade falls through, could be the number one guy. But then, also Stephon Diggs is looming. If A.J. Brown doesn't get traded there, he probably resigns. So I just think there's fewer outs to Doubs being kind of like a guy in that similar range. That's the number one option. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is just better than him. But yeah, I'm going to be drafting a little bit of Doubs as well, especially if I have someone like May to correlate with. I guess, QJ could be your guy there as well, as could just be Justin Herbert's favorite target. McConkey kind of fell off. Bigger body. He could be the guy playing out there on those 13 personnel snaps. Don't really know. So yeah, just I like those kind of archetype of guys as the robust running back kind of bookend receivers. All right, so we go ahead and start in the 6th hole here. Don't recognize any of the names off the bat. See if we have any drunk people or just crazy drafters. It's kind of what you're hoping for on a Saturday, like I said. Hopefully the drinks are flowing in this lobby. I think my camera's a little blurry. Maybe not. Can't tell. So yeah, the 6th pick, there's a clear top 5 with Bijan, Gibbs, Chase, Puka, and JSN. After that, I've seen people take, Justin Jefferson up here, Amon-Ra, can make a case for CD, and obviously CMC, JT. I don't really have a, super hot take on any of these guys as a 6th pick. It's kind of a spot I'd rather probably be the 8th pick, the 9th pick, and just let the room kind of decide for me. But I do think the highest ups. Well, I do think JT and CMC are the clear guys who I'm going to be taking here, just because I am a early running back drafter this year, and JT before the injury to Danny Dimes was the best player in football last year as far as fantasy goes, and the injury really derailed his kind of fantasy value in the end of the season. But the Colts are gonna be super run heavy again, and can't really argue with him not having a good season if everything stays healthy there. And CMC's the same way. Not really. Besides Gibbs and Bijan, there's just really not two other guys that have higher ceiling on a week-to-week basis than those two guys, and that's what you want. So we'll see how it shakes out. Nice standard start. See if DeKenya grabs JSN. So I guess we can start thinking about differentiators of, all right, who these guys play week 17. So McCaffrey, Chargers, KC, Philly, and JT, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Cleveland. You know, I prefer CMC anyway, but I think just with the playoff schedules there, better chance for a shootout against the Eagles end of the season. You know, CMT is very similar to Bijan and Gibbs, where you almost want a negative game script with him just because of the receptions, or not even negative, but just like a neutral kind of back and forth game script versus the traditional running back like JT. You're gonna want the Colts to go out and just dominate Cleveland, which, you know, obviously that can happen as well. They are hosting Cleveland, so that's nice. But, you know, like I said, in a close game, Gibbs, Bijan, McCaffrey are going to give you the most the most ceiling because of, you know, the receptions. He's probably going to have 7-8 targets. Late season, if he is healthy, and let's say Kittle or Pearsall are hurt, I mean, he's just like their whole offense. And if he has 10 targets against Philly and it's a close 27-24 game, I mean, it's hard to imagine him not having at least 35, 40 points, especially if you throw in a touchdown or two. So yeah, things like that. Just try to think about, you know, because it's hard to differentiate between these guys with how closely they all project. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, injuries, who knows with that? You can't really factor that in, but he was healthy last year, CMC. I don't think he missed any games. I know he's getting older, but we're all getting older. Yeah, didn't play week 14. Might have been their bye. I think it was their bye, actually. But yeah, full season out of CMC, a lot of touches. So, you know, happy to take him at 6. So with that being said, you know, Eagles could be a team that we're just more gravitating towards just because of the week 17 correlation. Kansas City as well, they play week 16, so, you know, something to think about going throughout the draft. Kind of a new data point that we didn't have a couple days ago. All right, so let's see, what do we want to do here? I'm not taking Bowers at this point in the draft yet, so I think we're going to go ahead and start there and just kind of see what a team looks like with Bowers at 19. I've been kind of waiting on him in the 20, 22, 21 range. Taking him a couple times with Jeremiah Love, which actually worked out to be a week 17 stack, so that is nice. But definitely want to get more Bowers. You know, not a huge conviction with Chase Brown or Henry, especially on Draftkings with Henry, just not as appealing on this site, but, you know, I think in this range, much better spot for Derrick Henry. And you know, I have taken a lot of Jeremiah Love kind of ahead of ADP, so happy to grab a Bowers share here. Don't see too much drunken behavior yet from the lobby, so we might not have a fun room here. Maybe Saturday night is when the drinks are flowing on DraftKings. Kyron pretty early here. 23. That's an interesting spot for Bill B. A.J. Brown also pretty early. 25. But not too bad. Would love it if Love falls back. I was going to say Breece Hall would definitely be my pick, but Bill B takes him pretty early, which I think is going to keep happening. I think Breece is going to keep moving on up ahead of Jacobs. So there goes Love and Pickens. DeKenya's milking the clock. Takes Josh Allen. All right. So, yeah, I haven't been drafting a lot of Josh Jacobs, just because I've been taking Brees above him. So, do you think he's going to kind of settle in this probably mid-30s range? So happy to take him if Brees is off the board there. I know a lot of people are kind of... The reason he's going to be falling a little bit is because of the Houston Week 17 matchup. It is at home. And I guess if you're gonna take it to Houston, which is a tough defense, you're just gonna do it on the ground for sure in the cold weather. So I don't hate it actually, especially if he's gonna be a faller. Because yeah, I mean Houston, they're really fast, get after the quarterback defense, good secondary. Definitely not a team you want to be playing from behind from, but you know, Green Bay has a good defense of their own, and you know Micah should be full go at that point, end of the season. It's gonna be cold weather. We saw C.J. Stroud did not look so good last year, so could definitely see a low-scoring kind of Packers grind it out, 25, 30 carries for Jacobs type performance, and don't hate that spot at all. If you know, if the market tells us that they hate Jacobs, I didn't like Jacobs up here ahead of like Brees and those guys, but if he's gonna fall into this range, I'm happy to take him. Wow, so early Scatabo, one of my favorite players. Another guy I think does not deserve to be 47-46. Definitely deserves to be up in this area with Javonte. Not ahead of Javonte, but I think he deserves to be with ETN for sure. Especially with Bucky's kind of shoulder shenanigans going on. Wasn't a huge Bucky fan anyway, but you know. I think I got Bucky on Underdog at like 55 a couple days ago, and you know, I think that's a good spot for him. Like I said, I don't hate Bucky. I'm gonna draft a little bit of him, but just way prefer Scatabo, who's been going after him for most of the draft cycle here. So. See if the Jefferson drafter wants to grab Garrett Wilson. Do a little stack there. I'm guessing that's going to be pretty chalky. Either Jefferson, kind of Brees. He does not. Who knows who even cares about Week 17 at this point? But I do expect to see a lot of Jefferson, Brees Hall, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson as the summer progresses. So I think both those guys are going to kind of come up a little bit. I mean, Mecca Ibuka over Garrett Wilson. Don't understand that one, but maybe the Mecca Ibuka drafters just didn't watch the second half of 2026 and only saw his breakout beginning. But also, I know Mike Evans is gone, so he could emerge as kind of the early season of Mecca that we saw last year. But to me, he's just priced really at his kind of his ceiling here, and I don't love to buy that. All right, we definitely need a receiver. As much as I want Javonte at 43. Hopefully he just takes him. Draft Josh Allen, who didn't get to draft Josh Allen. He's probably angry. Come on, just take Javonte. All right, thank you. So which receiver do we want? Ted McMillan. This is a pretty nice fall on him. Take him. Between him or Burden. Oh, did it not go through? I don't know if our internet... Okay, there we go. Internet was trying to prevent us from drafting Ted McMillan, which might not have been a bad thing. Yeah, he's fine. I think he's fine here. Don't love him at... I think all these receivers are so close. I do think Garrett Wilson and Devontae Smith are kind of head and shoulders above the rest in this range, but you know, I'm just happy to kind of take the guy that the room lets fall to me here. That's kind of what we did. Don't love the Carolina passing attack, but he is the best player for sure in that passing room, and you know, was a rookie, didn't have a particularly great season, but had a couple spike weeks. I remember that Dallas game was pretty good. I guess he only had he had 2 touchdowns, but low passing. I guess it was the Atlanta game where he kind of went off. So obviously has the ceiling we're looking for. Good volume, just, you know, not a huge Bryce Young believer, but Dave Canales is pretty good offensive coach there. So all right, coming around, definitely want a third, like, good running back for sure. Coming to a good range here. We also could just push running back and grab a good receiver here as well, which we haven't done a lot of. It does change things a little bit having Bowers versus a second stud running back, which I normally do, or, you know, like a Rashee Rice. It does make you think a little more earlier for a receiver. I like to do, but definitely don't like Marvin Harrison at 50. I think that's a pretty awful pick over Mike Evans and Waddle and J-Mo. But hey, maybe Bill B, you know, has some big conviction on Marvin Harrison Jr. All right, so J-Mo goes. I think we're going to push the third running back a bit and grab Big Mike here. Want to get more of Big Mike. I think he's I think out of all, you know, kind of these middle tier guys, I think he probably has the most upside for sure, just the touchdowns. You know, I think I know he's older, but this NFL is just not the NFL of 2023, 2024, where the Lad McConkeys of the world were lighting it up just with, you know, 11, 12 targets a game. I think it's much slower, much, you know, lower kind of flat pass volume. So guys like Mike Evans, who can put up 13, 14 touchdowns just on, you know, a bunch of red zone targets, are kind of who I think, you know, have upside. And also totally forgot I have CMC with him, so got a little San Francisco thing going on here. Who else does San Francisco play? They got the Chargers, KC, Philly. All right. So, you know, Brock Purdy, always like drafting him. Drafted him naked a lot, so now I actually have some guys to go with him besides Deshaun Stribling and like later in the draft. Hoping that yeah, there's been a couple drafts where I've seen Price and Tootin kind of fall in this range, 6-7 range, and love to grab one of those two. Obviously Montgomery or Henderson as well, but I don't think they're going to be there much longer here. All right, so there goes Henderson. So I do think Henderson in this kind of mid to late 50s is actually a good pick. I know early on we were seeing him go way early in the kind of mid 40s and wasn't buying there, but definitely interested in this area for Henderson. I always thought that Ramondre kind of early on was a little too cheap, and Henderson was way too expensive. You know, just should be much closer together. And if he's 59, Henderson's kind of the mid 70s. I think he becomes a much nicer click. Even knowing that Ramondre is probably going to be the kind of early down guy. They're going to split on and off, but I think Henderson should eat into that workload a little bit more. Let's see. So still have our 2 targets available. So just got to hope one of these 2 picks is not Tootin or Price. Price would also go along with Tet, which would be really nice for week 17. Not that Price is a pass catcher, but could catch a couple balls and also just could just there he goes, break a couple of long runs, and now Tet's got to play catch up. So would have been nice, but didn't really expect him there either. Let's see, what does the Jags look? Jags play Washington, Dallas, and Houston. So very nice, and he goes there. So kind of both guys we wanted. Definitely don't want Chuba. Do we want to rip a quarterback? Go ahead and grab Carnell Tate here. I think that's a good spot for him at 67. It's another, another reason here that taking Bowers just, changes up the strategy a little bit. Been very robust running back, but you have a tight end there in the second round instead. It does change things a little bit to where, I tried to kind of push the Price, Henderson, Montgomery guys around. Didn't work out, but I think in this situation you kind of have to do that, just because you don't want to fall behind too far at receiver. And there's still guys I like at 78. I'm fine to pull up. Obviously, I like Stevenson. Pollard's okay. I would probably just rather pull up Jalen Warren here. If Ramondre's gone. Wow, very early QJ there to Bill B, who also took a very early Godwin and very early Marvin Harrison. So he's getting his guys out here. So maybe we have found the drunken drafter on Saturday, potentially. Also took Breece Hall pretty early. So this guy, yeah, he's kind of getting a little crazy here. And Kyron. All right, Michael Wilson goes. So I haven't taken any RJ Harvey. Is there any reason for me to take RJ Harvey? There's not. I'm just going to grab Stevenson. Yeah, RJ Harvey, I just don't think he should be going in the same range as Ramondre Stevenson, but to each their own, I guess. If he falls, kind of in the Jalen Warren, I'd probably just rather have Jalen Warren as well. I think he'd have to fall to this low 90s range for me to really ever click RJ Harvey. But yeah, if he falls 91, I'll think about it. Do need to get a quarterback, and we saw Brock Purdy as kind of a guy that we've kind of penciled into this lineup. He goes at pick 100, so just depending on who's here at 91, we might want to just grab him early to lock him in. Caleb Williams at 80 is a nice pick there, nice little slide. It's like this guy just took him kind of naked just to stop the slide. I almost got back to the Adunze drafter. Let's see, where's the Burden guy? Passed on him for May. Interesting. And the Loveland guy, I guess, has Allen, so didn't want to take a second quarterback that early. But I would have definitely taken him at 77 to pair him with Loveland instead of Michael Wilson, but all right. So I guess the question here is, do you grab a quarterback or like an RJ Harvey, Jalen Warren type, which is probably what we'll do. I think we'll do that, and then we'll just try to push Brock around. We also have, Jordan Love is a good kind of second quarterback. He goes, where does he go? He goes 108. So Yeah, maybe he falls here. What are the... Tree Dog has Christian Watson and Kraft, so he's definitely going to be taking him at 108, which is fine. I'm not going to push Love or anything like that, but just thinking about additional options here. So Harvey goes at 87. I think it's a spot where he kind of makes more sense. I think he's like 77 ADP right now, which, like I said, don't really think I'll ever draft him that high, but you know, as he falls, he will definitely be draftable somewhere. Probably 91. I would have taken him at 91 just to kind of differentiate. I do have a lot of Jalen Warren, and even if I do like Jalen Warren more, I think, you know, when you have a faller whose ADP is better, I like to just take him just to kind of differentiate a little bit, just because do want different combos. So Warren does go to the price guy, so he has 3 running backs. We could just grab Dowdle. I don't have much Dowdle. He kind of a little less exciting, but yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and grab Rico here. So solid 4 running back room. That's what we always want to do. Actually, better receivers than typically I have, so not bad. And Brock Bowers. So now it's time to start getting some quarterbacks. Jasass has gone with some 2 early tight ends as well here. Could potentially grab Purdy here. But like I said, not too worried about having to have Purdy on this team. Could just move Jordan Love up as well. Pair him with Jacobs, which is it's fine. Dart Stafford go. Kyle Manunga at 96. Ricky Pearsall. See what Jasass does here if he grabs Purdy. He does not. He grabs Gainwell, so it's good news for us. Unless DeKenya wants to rip off Purdy. He does not, so we will go ahead and take Brock Purdy here. That's a nice double stack there of Evans and McCaffrey. So now it does open up some potential, maybe second tight end of Goddard. Would be nice to have as a week 17 spot. You know, a late Dontavian Wicks would feel pretty good as well. So definitely some options there. Also, we're gonna be looking at maybe some late Seattle guys. Like if this is a 4 tight end room, which it probably won't be with Bowers, could be like an Arroyo last pick kind of spot, or even Torrey Horton, Cooper Kupp types as well. So it's nice having the schedule out, 'cause now you're not just blindly picking some of these guys. You're actually having some, you know, week 17, week 16, week 15 thoughts to kind of base your decisions off of, which is nice. So Carnell Tate. So the cover guy obviously is Pittman, one of my favorite picks. So typically I'm taking him around 100, but we see him go in this range a lot as well. So I'd love to get him. Did he already go? Must have already went. He did. He just went at 109. So that's normal. But you know, like I said, this is a better receiver room than we normally have. Pittman's usually my wide receiver 3 on a lot of my builds. So yeah, didn't necessarily need him on this team, but would have loved to give him at 115. Let's see, did that guy did pass on Love, which is interesting. I guess he needed a running back though. He only has James Cook, so kind of fell behind there. So now it still leaves the door open for Love, which I will definitely do. Coming around if he's still here. Tyler Shuck. Naked is not the worst pick either. But we'll lean Love just because of the Jacobs. See what draft Josh Allen does. He did not draft Josh Allen. He drafted Bo Nix. He has no Bronco players. Sorry, he has Waddle. He grabs Goff. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab Love as quarterback 2. So I'm feeling pretty good. Not really any the problem with Love, I mean, I think he's a fine naked quarterback, or just having him with Jacobs, but there's a problem with him is there's not like any really exciting late picks, because all his pass catchers are already gone. Golden, Reed, Watson, and Tucker Kraft. So it's the only downside with Love. I don't have a ton of him, but you know, I think he's fine. He spreads the ball around so much that he could, you know, have a good Week 17 game with really no one not really pulling anyone along. He's also just you need 3 quarterbacks on DraftKings anyway, so good guy to have, but not necessarily someone I'm gonna draft too often without the pass catchers. Are there any receivers in this area that I like? Worthy's kind of fun. He also fits Week 16 San Francisco, so probably be a good 4th receiver. So I could just grab Goddard, like I said, but I think he could. Is he already gone? Okay, yeah, he went early. This is an early tight end drafting room. All right, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and grab Xavier Worthy here. Give us a 4th receiver with some upside. Give us a little bit of Week 16 correlation with San Fran. Probably going to be hammering tight ends coming around here. Maybe a 3rd quarterback. Cam Ward would be nice if he is still there at 140. Where is the Wandale drafters over here? So I should get Cam Ward if I want him at 139, which I definitely will take. Let's see how it works out. So anyone, this guy's got 1 quarterback who's drafting right now. Jassas still has no quarterbacks. He has potentially Danny Dimes, Cam Ward, I guess Brissett, and one of the Cleveland guys that he could still stack. Stroud goes pretty early here, 129. I guess he has Nico, so. Tree Dog gets Baker at 132. That's a very good value for just considering where other guys have gone in this draft. Does he have any bucks? He has a Buka. Oh yeah, this is the guy that has 2 running backs with Blake Corum. So he needs. This guy's banking on the Kyron Williams ankle turn. Jalen Coker. So this guy's really coming out strong at receiver. So all right, yeah, I think. I mean, it's gonna be hard to pass on Malik Willis if he's still there, but Cam Ward would be good as well. And then probably just start ripping tight ends coming around to the next side. Let's see. So Miami, does Malik Willis make any sense over Ward? And just besides, I think he probably has way more upside. Green Bay, they play in Week 15, so there's some correlation there. Chargers, Buffalo. He goes anyway, so makes the decision much easier. So as long as draft Josh Allen does not take Cam Ward, I think we're going to add Cam Ward as our quarterback 3 to pair him with Carnell Tate. Opens up a little late Ridley action as well, who I don't think is the worst kind of dusty late receiver. So I'll take Cam Ward here. Also opens up a little Jeremy Bernard with Pittsburgh because they do play Week 17. I don't mind him as well as a late kind of this range receiver. And we already have Dowdle, so setting some stuff up. Still have Wicks as well as a Philly guy to pair against the San Francisco stacks. And then we have some Seattle late picks to pair with Tet. So yeah, options. Always have to keep our options open. So after Ward, Darnold goes quickly. It looks like just Sass grabs his first quarterback of dimes. Guessing he'll probably add another. Let's see. Who else is available here? Bryce Young. Team taking the Young. Brissett obviously has Love. And then Geno and Rodgers. Probably his other options. And then plus the Cleveland guys. So, but it's a couple guys he's competing with here with, Bill B. We don't know what he's doing. He is doing the old tight end build, which a lot of guys love to do. Hopefully Kenyon Sadiq falls to me here. Who else would I take here? Obviously Sadiq, I would love. Brenton Strange, does he make sense at all? A little bit. Hunter Henry. I mean, I need another tight end. Conquo feels pretty good. Obviously Sadiq would be the home run pick at 150, but pretty much any of those tight ends are going to be where we look to go here because this is kind of where receiver gets not interesting. Shaheed, Cooper, Travis Hunter, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I'm good to just pass on those guys. I know we have Bowers, but, a lot of the Bowers drafters, they just draft two super late guys, so I have to get a little different and potentially have just a good tight end room. Above average, for sure. Woody Marks, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, we're going to go ahead, definitely grab Sadiq here. It's a really good pick. Pairs well with Bowers. I know they have the same bye week, but we're going to get a third anyway, so keep that in mind for that one. But obviously Brock Bowers is weekly going to be the top projected tight end, and then Sadiq's a guy that I think has a lot of upside, especially later in the playoffs, as he kind of gets used to the NFL and maybe his snap share increases a bit. But yeah, I think the Jets offense looks good this year. Much improved. Drafting a lot of Jets. A lot of Geno too. We'll see what tight ends come back to us here. Definitely don't want Gunnar Helm. Kind of hate that range of tight end. After a Conquo, it gets pretty gross. Hawkinson, do not like. I don't really like Schultz. Probably would just honestly do the Terrence Ferguson at the end kind of thing. Or Arroyo to give us some Seattle. Hawkinson goes above the guys I just mentioned that I actually like, so interesting. But he has Kyler. Okay, so he's just forcing a stack. It's fine. Tree Dog gets his third running back finally. Alvin Kamara. He does grab Strange, which would have taken. So it gives us two guys that we would draft here. If those guys are gone, what do we want to do? Probably trade. Good old trade Tucker. Well, do I want trade Tucker? Yeah, I wouldn't mind trade Tucker and Bowers. That's fine. Las Vegas is Denver, Tennessee, Arizona. So Bowers does correlate in week 16 with Tate and Ward, which is nice. Also have to keep in mind we do not want a week 13 bye tight end, so neither Henry or Okonkwo fit that bill. Wow, Eli Stowers 161. Does this guy have Hurts? No, he doesn't. Oh, that's his first tight end too. So that is another potentially drunk drafter. Algier. Okay, great. So we have our pick here. I think I prefer Okonkwo, I believe. I'm gonna take him. I think Washington will add another receiver in free agency, but I think Okonkwo fits in pretty well with that team, and yeah, it's a third tight end. I do like that pick. I don't have any Jaguars on this team, but they do play the Jags week 17. They play Atlanta and Minnesota, so they have a good playoff schedule. So now, since we do have Rico and Stevenson, not quite robust running back enough, we do probably want to think about another running back. I mean, Stribling would be nice as well, just kind of keep stacking up the San Francisco guys. Do you like him? Probably just see what comes back to us at 187 running back wise. Gino goes 172. That's a good pick to Jazz. We know he doesn't have any. It sets up Adonai Mitchell for him. Jonah Coleman goes. Didn't want him. Can't really pass on Trey Tucker at 174. That's just a good pick. I know I mentioned Stribling as another stack, but like I said, not going to pass on Trey Tucker there. I think he's a very solid guy for Vegas. So Spear has taken all the tight ends, all the young tight ends. Does take Ferguson pretty early. And Stowers as well. It's Burrow, Williams, and Herbert. Interesting team. But, you know, with Bowers, with Sadiq, with Okonkwo, this is definitely a 3 tight end build, so not too worried about Ferguson going there. I know he's my usual like late 4th tight end if I have a really bad room, or if I have a questionable kind of even 3 tight end room. He's a good last pick there as well. But 176 is a little too early for me on Terrence there. Does have upside though. Honestly, rather have him than Barner, Otten, Gunnerhelm, Parkinson, his own teammate. Just zero upside with those guys, in my opinion. Gotta draft for upside. That's why it's hard this year. I mean, you gotta get tight ends kind of middle early, because there's just not those upside guys late that we've seen over the years here. Everyone's getting a little smarter. So, you know, years past we were able to get guys that had some upside down here, but now Terrence Ferguson's of the world are going earlier. I do think Arroyo still is an interesting kind of late round flyer, but on the right build. I don't think you want him as like your tight end 3. I think he fits like a tight end 4 room as like your last pick, because he could just not play very many snaps this year as well. But I do think he could either overtake Arroyo or just kind of work 50-50 with him. They do a lot of 12 personnel possibly. Cup at 184. All right, so we should be looking at what we want to draft here. So obviously Stribling's still here, Ridley. Those are 2 stack options there. Flournoy is still here. So yeah, this is a good spot to be in, needing a receiver, because a lot of good options. Probably will lean Stribling out of that group, but let's see. Dallas. Does Dallas make sense for any of these? Not really. I don't think I have any Giants. Ollie Gordon, 185. That's very early for Ollie. Also to this same Spear guy, so he's drafting interesting. Schultz goes, so we'll grab Dejon Stribling here. 33rd overall pick by the 49ers. A lot of people seem to hate this guy for whatever reason. Don't think he's a good enough prospect, but hey, 49ers drafted him early. Kind of similar thesis why I like him to Caleb Douglas. You know, the best ball market does not want him because they don't think he's a good prospect, but the Miami Dolphins, you know, he was their first receiver selected, so I like to side with the actual football organization over the guys who do their prospect analysis. They're not making the picks, so my thought is, you know, if the organization's going to use a high pick on a guy, they're definitely going to give him every opportunity to succeed. They don't want to look like an idiot. You know, I don't think Shanahan or Lynch really cares what Twitter thinks about Sean Stribling as a player or a prospect. They saw something, and happy to add him to the stack at 187. All right, let's see what running backs are still here. I mean, obviously Ridley does work as well as a double stack with Ward. I think at 198, that's a very good spot for Ridley, so I'll probably grab him there. If not Ridley, could also look at Sean Tucker. He's one of my favorite 5th running backs. So Ridley does go. Chris Bell goes, another guy I would have taken. Manuel Wilson, it's kind of interesting when I have a lot of Jarian Price, but not on this team, and he does fit in with McMillan, but he also goes. So good 3 picks there by those guys. Go ahead and grab Ryan Flournoy here. He's one of my favorite late receivers as well. Just nice contingent upside guy who's probably going to see a good amount of snaps as well. Had some good games last year, and yeah, 198 is a good spot for him. Surprised the Dak guy passed on him for Ridley, but also, I mean, yeah, Ridley was pretty far down. He's about 180 range typically ADP, so yeah, it's a good pick. Zachariah Branch goes here. It's a good pick as well. Does this guy have any Saints, or is he just... Yeah, he does Olave. Okay, so... he also has 2 quarterbacks, so I'm guessing he's probably setting up a Penix or Tua late pick, which is kind of a crapshoot. I mean, it seems like Penix is kind of already practicing or back to kind of doing some stuff, so... could see Tua starting the year and Penix kind of ending the year. So I think if I haven't selected either one yet, but if I had to pick one, I think I would probably lean Penix just for the up. I think he has more upside. But typically not making quarterbacks, those kind of quarterback decisions late unless I'm in a bind. But definitely good to think through. So Tree Dog, I know he didn't draft a lot of running backs. He's starting to add a couple of late guys here. Kamara, Singleton, and Ray Davis. Pretty good picks. I still do want Sean Tucker at 211 if he falls to me. I'm just going to keep drafting him. I don't see any downside to him, really. I mean, he's going to have his role. A couple carries a game. He's kind of Bucky's direct replacement if he goes down, and Gainwell will keep his role, even with injury. He'll probably get a little more work, but he'll probably, 60-40 of the early downs if Bucky were to get hurt. But yeah, has a role, pretty secure roster spot, which these late picks really just want guys that are going to be on the roster and, you have a vision for. Just kind of one injury away from relevance. He's a perfect 5th running back for this team. Might even draft a 6 running back. I don't know if I have any 6 running back teams because normally I'm so robust at running back. But Stevenson and Dowell is, you know, it is a downgrade to what I normally have, so might want to think about a 6th. Where's Sean Tucker? There he is. We're going to lock him in. 3-5-7-3. So we're done at tight end. We're done at quarterback. So I would have liked Malachi Fields, but I think Tucker was a little more important to this team. Let's see. What are the running backs are still here? Not a lot of exciting options. I think we'll just end it at 9 receivers. That makes more sense on this team, honestly. Because obviously, you know, this team is saying that Stevenson is still kind of the early down back to start the year, has a good season, continues where he left off. And Dowdle, you know, works the early downs as well over Warren. Warren's still the passing down guy, but Dowdle might score 7-8 touchdowns on the ground. He's the goal line back, so yeah, it's fine. And then obviously Jacobs and CMC are kind of our ceiling guys weekly. All right, so any late receiver stacks? Definitely want Wicks as a week 17 correlation with the San Francisco guys. We mentioned that earlier, so we already kind of had him penciled in. This would be a good spot for him at 222. So Jass took some late quarterbacks. He has Jones, Geno, and Rodgers. With just Warren stacked. I mean, he might take Dulcich. He might take possibly a Cleveland guy as well. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab Dontavian Wicks. Nice week 17 correlation with the Niners guys. So really setting up that Niners-Eagles game with a couple secondaries as well. And then with the last pick, I mean, we're always taking Caleb Douglas last, it seems. Does Miami work their way into this at all? Green Bay in week 15, so correlation there. The other guy I would be pretty interested in would be where is this guy? Where's the search? Oh, here it is. Lane. So, Jacoby Lane is another late round guy. Like Baltimore plays Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincy. Definitely have a lot more Douglas already drafted. I guess we'll see what's still available, but I think Douglas makes more sense just from probably going to have more playing time. I mean, Miami could still probably will add a free agent guy. Just, I guess it depends on who it is that will really affect Caleb Douglas the most. Obviously, if like Diggs goes there, it's gonna, you know, hurt Douglas and Chris Bell. But if it's someone like Deebo Samuel or just a worse free agent signing, I really, you know, not too worried about it. Diggs is kind of the guy that if he does go to your team, you know, where you're drafting a lot of their players, it would kind of hurt. But, you know, I'm not going to try to speculate on that. Just, you know, the Packers, a lot of the Packers organizations coming over, and they are literally the anti-diva receiver organization. So I think them signing Diggs would be kind of surprising just from a philosophy standpoint. But you never know. So yeah, we'll just keep grabbing Caleb Douglas, man. Player comp is similar to a Christian Watson type, who, you know, Malik Willis absolutely loved him last year when he did have his limited games. So, you know, get Malik a nice Christian Watson comp from the draft. And he's absolutely free in drafts. And honestly, you know, 9 receivers. I don't need. Yeah, this is a pick where I can just swing at a 0. Wicks should definitely be on the roster. Flournoy's in the roster. Stribling's in the roster. Tucker's in the roster. So there's really not. I'm not really, you know, not running in the risk of multiple guys not making a team, and that's where you kind of run into down here. So yeah, Douglas pick is a good one, I believe. I'm gonna keep making it. I think he's my highest exposed player on Draftkings just because of the 20 rounds. So yeah, definitely like this team. We'll recap it here once it's over. See who the last couple picks are. I like to always see who people are taking their last picks, you know. If it's a name I haven't really heard of, I like to just think about, you know, maybe the rationale behind it. There could be some smart picks here that I'm not aware of. Don't think Drew Aller is one of them, but Jordan James. Where's Kalon Black go these days? Is he undrafted? This other guy I thought about is maybe a 6th running back. Is he still here? Must have got drafted. Where did he go? Oh, okay, so Kalon Black, 223. So slightly ahead of Jordan James. That's kind of a tough spot to predict. All right, let's go ahead and recap the team here. So we have, I get in this format better. We have CMC, Brock Bowers, Josh Jacobs, Ted McMillan, Mike Evans, Carnell Tate, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle. So solid 4 running backs there. Purdy, Jordan Love, Xavier Worthy, Cam Ward, Kenyon Sadiq, Chig Okonkwo, Trey Tucker, Dejon Stribling, Ryan Flournoy, Sean Tucker, Dontavian Wicks, and Caleb Douglas. Nice standard 3593 build. You know, a little different than what I've been doing because took Bowers there, and I do want to have some Bowers spots. I kind of wanted to see what the team would look like by taking Bowers here. Just kind of helps your process to do something a little different now and again. And I do really like Bowers, as obviously, especially on DraftKings with the PPR scoring. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. You know, Ted McMillan's not a guy I'm clicking a lot, but I do like him here at 43. And then obviously I want more Evans. I like Carnell Tate a lot. I like that drop at 67. Still like Stevenson. He's one of the better, just fair price. He's one of the most fair price guys on the board, I think, right now. Just you know what you're getting. Not a lot of ceiling, but you know, a guy who is perfect for this type of running back room with Caffrey, Jacobs, Dowdle. Another guy who I don't have a lot of, but would like to mix in because I do have a lot of Warren. And yeah, three good quarterbacks. A lot of correlation. Kenyon Sadiq is another guy who I think is my probably second highest exposure right now to Douglas, who's I'm just clicking at the end of the drafts. And a lot of Sean Tucker and Stribling too. So yeah, it's a very on-brand team, but just slightly different. So feels pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and hop in a second one here. This is going to be number 35 for us. Another 3 out of 12 start. Let's see if we can get some craziness here. I promised a crazy Saturday draft earlier, so that one wasn't too crazy. Kind of felt like a, you know, Tuesday morning AM draft, kind of basic. Maybe one guy that, you know, pulled a couple guys up, but nothing too crazy. I'm here for the Josh Allen in the first round, or I think I saw one guy go Derrick Henry 11 and then took Lamar at like 14 then, so I'm here for that kind of start. I do think though, like, I mean, maybe it's because we're drafting early and like only really, I guess, serious best ball players draft this early, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of like the wild card drafters, or just less wild card drafters than usual. But like I said, I'm sure as the summer goes, as the promos come along, and just end of just people trying out best ball, we'll see more of the wild card drafters. Probably check and make sure there's no breaking news. No one tore their ACL in between me drafting here. So Fernando Mendoza's looking good in his Raiders uniform. Okay. Looks like Rory McIlroy is making a nice move at the PGA. Be nice to see a little Sunday top heavy leaderboard. Oh, we get the first pick. Nice. Yeah, nothing football related I see that's breaking the world apart. So, all right. So we got the first pick. Let's see if we recognize anybody here. Hannah Martini. It's a good name. Lions junkie. So if I take Gibbs here, I might put him on tilt, which I'm going to do, but see if he just heavily invests in the Lions. Interesting to see kind of, a month, 2 months from now where ADPs are, obviously, but do we think that Bijan's going to stay as 1, or is Gibbs going to, pass him? I don't know. They're both. It's hard to really make a case for either one. I mean, my case for Gibbs is just I think that they're a better team. I think he's going to probably score. They're going to score more touchdowns than offense, win more games. I think they have the easiest projected schedule the Lions do, I believe, or one of them. They also. Let's see. They play at Chicago, week 17, which I like. It's a good shootout environment, kind of like my CMC thesis there. You like these Gibbs, Bijan types in shootouts versus positive game script. I think they're almost negatively correlated a little bit. Like, I think you could see guys like Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco get a little more run in the fourth quarter if the Lions are up by 3 touchdowns in a game. But if it's a shootout with the Bears, Gibbs is going to be catching 8-9 balls, which just gives him such a high ceiling. And most running backs, it's the opposite. You want, like, the Josh Jacobs, upside bull case is, all right, Green Bay's ahead against Houston, what's the guy's name? Blanking on it right now. CJ Stroud just threw his 4th interception. 24-0. Jacobs has got his 30th carry, his 3rd touchdown. That's his bull case. It's not the shootout game. So, Chicago, Detroit, definitely a shootout potential. With that high-powered Bears offense. So, and then you have Goff outdoors. They're going to need a lot of Gibbs there. I think Gibbs actually had a monster game when they did play outdoors, didn't he? Let's see. I know they just played outdoors late last season. It's week 18. So, I mean, it wasn't even a high-scoring game, but I bet Gibbs had a pretty good one here. So, 3 for 33 and a touchdown, and then 80 on the ground. So, yeah, I mean, I guess most targets funneled to Amon-Ra, 15 of them, but still a very solid game there for him. All right, so let's get back into the draft here. So I took Gibbs, Bijan, The usual guys. Curry Power pulled up Jefferson to 6, which we see sometimes. Cubs got McCaffrey at 9. That's a good pick. And then Cody's going to get JT, I'm assuming, at 10. It's a good spot for him as well. So Atlanta plays New Orleans. That's another good shootout spot for Bijan as well. But yeah, I think just Gibbs is my guy, man. I think Bijan will be my guy at the second pick whenever I get that pick. I think I have 1 share of Bijan, so I really haven't gotten the second pick at all, but maybe that'll kind of balance out over time. And then there's going to be the occasional Jamar Chase at 2 guy, or Puka Nacua at 1 or 2 guy, so, or even JSN. So there'll be other spots to get kind of Bijan at 3 or 4, I'm sure, at some point. Pretty standard looking start from most of the room here. JT A-Chain is definitely pretty unique. See if this guy drafts any Jets down here. Kind of set up a little Week 17 Jefferson correlation. Probably Breece Hall at 30 would be a good spot, but I might even take Breece Hall over here, honestly, depending on who's here. Nico at 20, that's good. It's good for me. I don't really want Nico, so him going early is nice. Who would I want here? Pretty much any of these running backs. Definitely Bowers. Neighbors at 21. So yeah, might get a pretty nice combo over here, potentially. Chase Brown goes with Chase. I've seen this a couple times. This guy will probably grab maybe Lamar as well to kind of set up a Cincinnati-Baltimore type thing. Or Bowers at 23. Okay, that's a good pick. So this is where I'll definitely take Derrick Henry. And I think I'm going to take Jeremiah Love as well. Start extra robust on this one. Definitely an interesting combo. Henry typically doesn't fall to the very far left 2-3 turn here. And then I do love Jeremiah Love. I think he's kind of like Devon A-Chain, just a little cheaper. Bad team, high volume, really good dynamic, fast player. A lot of catches. I think that the Cardinals are going to play very Dolphin-esque football this year with the new coaching staff. Just they're not going to come out and just throw it 50 times a game with Brissett like they did last year. They're going to play slow, kind of field goal, long drives, just try to barely move the chains. Kind of very Dolphins football. Very over the middle of the field. I think, yeah, McBride's still a good pick, but not into Michael Wilson or Marvin Harrison's price tags this year. And then also, it's like, you know, if they're out of the playoffs, there's no way Brissett is going to be playing the money weeks anyway. So they're going to want to see what they have with Carson Beck, for sure. So just not a big Cardinals passing game guy this year in best ball. But Jeremiah Love, definitely into him. I'm taking him over Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown and him are going to be interchangeable for me. But like I said, Chase Brown goes pretty early. Definitely over Hampton. I'm definitely not into Hampton at all. I think Hampton should be going here, honestly. This area. And I did take him at 28. I believe he fell to me one time, so I think that's a good spot for Hampton, but just not. He's about a half round too expensive. I just think, you know, Vidal's going to get touches. Keaton Mitchell's going to get touches. He's fine, but just like I said, half round too expensive for me. All right, so Brees. Let's see. The Jefferson guy did not set up Brees. He got Olave. So just coming out swinging with pass catchers. We should probably be thinking about what we want to do on our team. Obviously, like Luther Burden would be the dream, just to set up that Week 17 game there at 40. I mean, 48 should be here potentially. Loveland would be nice too, but he's going pretty early. It's hard to get to Loveland at 40 when there's I'm not taking him over Javonte. It's just not going to happen for me. But yeah, if he would have came around to this area, I definitely would have clicked Loveland for sure. Early Terry. Early Travion as well. Said I like Travion. I think, where did he go last round or last draft? Was it 59? 44 is definitely a little too expensive for me. It's gonna be really hard to pass on Scatabo if he's here, but do need to start drafting receivers. Could do a little JMO double up and Burden, but like I said, these are just dreams right now. We do not know what these Lions. I mean, Lions Junkie's probably not passing on JMO. Who knows? Definitely do not like DJ Moore, but he seems to always be scooped up by the Josh Allen guy, so it's kind of perfect. Good thing Scatabo goes. I don't have to worry about taking too many running backs. And Judkins goes. All right, so definitely going to lock up Burden. Question is, who else do we want? Adams. It's a nice ADP spot for him. I don't really love Adams. Let's go ahead and lean into this Week 17 game. I think this is my first JMO share as well. So opens up a couple quarterbacks for us. Potentially Caleb here at 72, 73, and then also Goff down here 96, 97. So yeah, it's a good start. Very good start. Biggest thing was just getting Burden to come back around, because I do think, in these kind of robust rooms, a guy that does have like legit top 5 receiver potential is definitely nice to get there. And I just don't think that guys like DJ Moore, McLaurin, McConkey, Igbuka really have it. Flowers, I guess he's a fine guy to kind of start your receiver room with three good running backs. I know I did it last draft with McMillan at, what was it, 41, 42. So that's fine. But yeah, Bird and JMO is a good start. And like I said, we're setting up a nice little game stack there. See if there's any. I probably don't want to take another running back at 72 or 73, but let's just see who would be there. Do not want Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, so it's going to be definitely, hopefully Caleb. And then, I guess we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what's there. It's hard to speculate at this point. Definitely want a quarterback, though. It's kind of hard when you're at these, the very end or very start. You do need to kind of be more open to, get away from ADP a little bit and just kind of draft on need, because there's so many picks in between your picks, and you don't want to fall behind too far at tight end or quarterback, especially on Draftkings with the 20 rounds. Swift at 63 is actually pretty nice for Cody. He also has Jackson and Flowers. Jackson at 58 is actually very nice slot as well. So he's getting some nice values there. Good start for him. So Jaden and Terry, it's also a good start. Drake May, Hurts. So Drake May and Hurts are already gone too. So really we're left with Caleb, Dak Prescott as the quarterback stuff. So I mean, if they both go, we might have to take a running back here. And then double tap quarterback at 96, 97. Parker Washington would have liked to have him as well, but he goes. Dak. Okay, so at least we get Caleb. Definitely lock him in. Don't have much of Brian Thomas. Is there any reason to take a Jaguar here? Not really. But if I should take a shot on him. 73. It's right at ADP. Or do we grab a Colt? Let's take Brian Thomas. Not going to have much Brian Thomas this year, but, you know, we started out with 3 running backs. He's a fine guy. Like I said earlier, you know, he is kind of fits the Michael Pittman Jr. mold of. I know he is, you know, he's the second Jaguar taken, but could easily lead the team. Could easily lead the Jags in receiving this year. Really was between him and then Ramondre. I don't want to click Ramondre every single time. Especially starting with 3 guys. You know, I need to not be so robust sometimes at running back. Because our team did come out pretty well last draft. Kind of letting the back half of the running back room be a little weaker. No interest in Chuba Hubbard at all. I don't think I'll ever click him at these prices, at least. So let's see, 96, 97. What are we looking for there? Definitely need to grab a tight end. And then we already set up the Lions, so we're gonna have to grab Goff for sure there as well. Find quarterback 2. Who else do the Bears play? They play Buffalo and Green Bay, so could also grab a Green Bay receiver, like a Jaden Reed in that range. Kyle Monungai also? Yeah, I don't have any Kyle Monungai, but he probably fits this team as a 4th running back, you know. Some correlation with Caleb. I don't think he catches a ton of balls, but just kind of want guys in the offense. Yeah, he catches more balls than you think. Did have that nice game as a featured back against Cincy. I remember he was like a 40% owned guy in DFS, and yeah, 25 points, and he was pretty cheap too. So obviously, you know, Swift ever gets hurt, he's potentially a very nice guy to have there. So let's see what everybody else is doing here. Mahomes goes to the Walker drafter. He also gets Laporta. I do like Laporta as well. I'm trying to think what tight ends. I guess I would take Pitts here, but also don't see him coming around here too often. It's much easier to kind of predict your picks when you're kind of in the middle of the draft versus the ends. So that's why it's kind of kind of just seeing what happens, seeing how it works out, and just obviously Goff kind of have penciled in over here, unless can't imagine some. I guess the Amon Ra guy could have taken him, but I'm sure he has more hopes of him at 103. Could also just grab a receiver. Well, I guess right now it's Monungai and Goff. I think I've tucked myself into those two guys as the picks. I mean, obviously Warren if he's there, but I don't think we're going to see Warren at 96. That'd be a very good pick if he falls to me here. Got two guys with two running backs. So I'm guessing one's going to take Jalen Warren, but yeah, there you go. So Kiru grabs him. So yeah, I think we'll go ahead and grab. Oh, there goes Monungai. So lost Monungai. I don't want Rico Dowdle again. What about tight end? Don't necessarily want Kittle either. Let's go ahead and grab Jaden Reed and Goff. I think Jaden Reed's pretty interesting as well, kind of fitting that Michael Pittman mold of guy that could be the best player in the receiving room. Not necessarily drafted there, so. If you can just stay healthy, Jaden Reed's going to be pretty good. Especially because, they did lose Wicks, a couple other guys. Just less competition for targets there. And then he also correlates with the Chicago guys I have in week 16, so we definitely feel pretty good at receiver now for a while, with JMO, Burden, Thomas, and Reed. No correlating buys. Nice. We were set up well at quarterback for a little while, and obviously made our bet running back early, so I think, this 120 range be good to start hitting some tight ends. Love's already gone, so we're not going to be tempted with another good third quarterback. Let's see what kind of running backs we should be looking at here in the 120s. Gainwell I would take a shot on. JCM. Chris Rodriguez would probably be interesting there. Pairs with the Jaguar as well. Haven't drafted any Aaron Jones yet, but probably would be interested in Jonathan Brooks there. Do want a little more exposure to him. I think he sets up well as like a fourth or fifth. Yeah, as a fourth running back. And then obviously we can grab a fifth, kind of more contingent guy. What tight ends are we going to be looking at in the 120s? I think Andrews is kind of an interesting first starting guy on maybe a four tight end build with Andrews as like your first guy. It's nice. But yeah, obviously Kincaid, Kelsey, Goddard, likely just very similar guys. Don't love Jake Ferguson unless I have Dak. Even then, just, last year he really turned into Cade Otton when everyone was healthy, which was just nothing. I mean, obviously he's a contingent guy. With Pickens or Lamb gets hurt, he's gonna get volume, and then that's gonna lead to production. But everyone's healthy. He's just expensive Cade Otton, really. And then Flournoy just looks like he might take more of the offensive share as well. He seems like a pretty talented young guy or player, and just not a big Jake Ferguson guy. I think he's fine as like a second or third tight end in the room, or stacking with Dak without CD or Pickens, kind of just as like an upside. Hey, one of those guys goes down. Like if I have Dak, if I don't have Dak stacked and I take Flournoy, Ferguson later, that's fine, because then you kind of you're kind of just, you know, asking for an injury to help your team there. But other than that, he's just fancy K'd out into me. So it looks like a lot of the running backs that we like are going to still be here. Okay with taking Kelsey or Goddard as my first tight end. Let's see, any correlations that would lean me either way. KC, don't really have anything correlated there yet for the playoffs. He's gone anyway. Let's see, Philly, San Francisco, Houston, Seattle. So nothing really quite there, but do need a tight end, so. I'm going to grab Kenny Gainwell. I don't think I have any shares of Gainwell, so. He's a fine fourth running back for this room. Tampa plays the Rams week 17. So not a lot of pieces to correlate with, but when I do start a room with Goddard, I'm going to almost always have 4 tight ends in that room. So as you guys know, my favorite fourth tight end is Mr. Ferguson. So definitely gives us some correlation there, Gainwell and Ferguson. So, you know, always fits well to plan ahead. So let's see, any later stacks developing here? Obviously, Sadiq is always a hope in the 140s. See what happens. Don't necessarily even need a third quarterback. But sure we will. So this guy takes Malik Willis as his first quarterback, which is pretty interesting, and then Kelsey as his first tight end. So he's kind of just going with this kind of skill position group. 2 Pittsburgh running backs, so maybe setting up a late Rodgers potential. Yeah, outside of that, doesn't have much other stacking options. Obviously, you know, I do like Willis with the late Dolphin clicks, but don't love Willis as my first quarterback. See how he finishes the room out here. Depending on who's here, I'll probably double tap tight end, just because I do want a 4 tight end room. I feel good at receiver. Feel really good at running back, and then quarterbacks are good as well. You know, like I said, don't have to grab another one. Obviously, if I do get Sadiq, it would be nice to grab maybe Geno. Coming around that next turn. But yeah, we'll wait and see if that'll get pushed to us here. So Zach Charbonnet at 130. Man, I'm waiting for this guy's ADP to kind of reflect where it should be. I don't think it should be 130s. But obviously the auto draft. It's just the auto drafters are keeping this guy's ADP up, which is really nice for the sharper drafters, because we all know he's going to miss a good chunk of the season. And then when he comes back, you know, he's got a rookie first round pick who's could potentially just have taken over the room. We'll see, but yeah, definitely not a guy I want to be clicking at 130. But it's these auto drafters that aren't really updating the ranks that are keeping his ADP afloat, it looks like. Not sure where I would draft him. Because like I said, I'm triply robust running back, so don't really draft a lot of running backs in this range. I'm usually kind of waiting to the end for my 5th guy. If I was a 0 running back drafter, I might, you know, take a nibble on Charbonnet 150s, 160s, but it just fit a certain build, and I don't typically build. I haven't built any of those teams so far, so. But definitely would not take it at 130. I mean, barring any like, he's way ahead of schedule. Actually, he's actually going to play week 4 news, you know. As of now, I've heard like October, November, potentially week 10, week 8 somewhere. I mean, missing a good chunk of the season, So this is good news, or good sight to not see any tight ends. I'm sure this guy takes his first, Hannah Martini, or woman. But yeah, I do want to double tap probably tight end here. Definitely want Sadiq, and probably would grab Strange or Henry or Okonkwo, depending on who's there. So Strange goes to Martini. Shahid goes. So I should get 2 guys that I want here. Let's see who they are. There's Diggs. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and grab Sadiq. And then we have our choice. Well, could grab Juwan here. I might grab Juwan. Does that make sense? Atlanta, Arizona. Yeah, I think it does make sense to grab Juwan here. So I do like Juwan Johnson as a third tight end. I think he's a good third tight end. He fits this build pretty well because the Saints played Tampa in week 15, so we have a little bit of correlation there. Arizona week 16, so Jeremiah Love correlation, and then week 17 he plays Atlanta. And a good late round pick these days is Mr. Zachariah Branch, so opens the door on him potentially. So yeah. And also, the Sadiq pick opens up a nice little Geno potential at 168, 169 as a third quarterback. So, yeah, worked out perfect. Feel good. This is typically what my teams are looking like at this stage, 2-4-4-3. Like to grab 3 running backs very early. Sometimes even 4. A lot of times I have 4 through 5, especially on this side of the board. But yeah, Burden, J-Mo, Brian Thomas, and Reed feels pretty good as a receiver room for me at this point. Definitely have to hit on some late guys, but I feel pretty confident in a good amount of selections there. So, and I think my confidence in every other position goes way down at this point in the draft. We're still going to set ourselves up for Ferguson as a 4th tight end. I like to always kind of decide when he should be taken. So his ADP's at 212. I always like to look for the Stafford drafter and what they're up to. He's actually right next to me, Lions Junkie. He has Bowers, he has Ferguson, so I'm sure he's envisioning maybe a 215 Ferguson or even a 194 Ferguson. Maybe he could even be a Colby Parkinson guy. Who knows? All that being said, probably will take him here at 192 just to lock him up. So set that up as well. So Geno's already gone. So now Mendoza's still here. So if Mendoza stays here and one of his receivers is still there, we'll obviously do that stack. I mean, they do correlate well with Jeremiah Love in week 17 as well, so that would be really nice. We also could just grab Mendoza naked. But obviously you'd rather have him with Naylor or Tucker. Did Tucker just go? He did, so it's okay. We still have Naylor. Mendoza goes. Naylor goes. I was going to say, we're still going to grab Naylor no matter what, but he goes. So, all right. Didn't quite work out. Does Keaton Mitchell make any sense here? Probably not. Take a shot on Antonio Williams, and then we will grab Rodgers as a third quarterback. Sets up Jeremy Bernard possibly coming around. Would have loved to get a Las Vegas guy, but just didn't work out. Antonio Williams, you know, I think he's a good. They don't really have any rookies yet, so do need some besides Sadiq, obviously, but you know, receivers still want to have some upside swings there. Don't draft a lot of him. I don't think I have drafted any of him without Jaden. So yeah, I just kind of ran out of, you know, the Trey Tuckers, Nailers are the guys I'm normally drafting. So just kind of dried up at the wrong time. But glad we went tight end early because just, yeah, you see the guys going now are a very sharp tier below Juwan and Sadiq in my opinion, but could also grab Tesla there, but I think Tesla and JMO are a little anti-corollary where if JMO does have a huge year, I think it comes at the expense of Tesla, and if Tesla has a monster year, I think it comes at the expense of JMO, obviously, or if JMO would get hurt, obviously Tesla would step into more volume. So kind of already made our bet with JMO. So now, obviously, Tesla, if he was in the 190s, I think it's a much better stack bet to make. But you know, he's pretty expensive for really what he projects volume-wise. Not a guy I'm clicking too often. I think he should get a little cheap. If he gets cheaper, you know, like I said, I'll reevaluate. But all right, so Terrence Ferguson is who we're eyeing coming around here as a fourth tight end. Rodgers we have as a third quarterback. So obviously Jeremy Bernard would be another rookie upside click there. Mike Washington is also interesting if he kind of falls as the kind of contingent fifth running back for this team. But we could also just wait. Well, I guess we're not going to take Sean Tucker because we have Gainwell. So we'll have to find a new contingent kind of bet down here as a fifth running back. See everybody's quarterback's room. Let's see. A lot of guys still have two. And you know, we didn't have to get Rodgers there, but I do prefer three quarterbacks on Draftkings. And then just the guys that I'm you know, the guys that I'm passing on, I guess the opportunity cost that I'm giving up there is just not much in my mind to force another Jerry Jeudy or Tesla or Stribling or Samuel when I can really. Jerry Bernard's just as good of a bet as any of those guys coming around, so kind of the rationale there. So all right, Chris Bell goes, so we can get Jeremy for sure, and then we will grab Ferguson. That'll end the tight end room. Gives us some correlation with Gainwell. Puts a little pressure on, you know, guys like Curry Powder who just have McBride. You know, obviously McBride's very good, but I like to attack tight end a little more from a just, you know, top to bottom room perspective. If I was drafting McBride here, I still want a tight end too. That's legit, not like, you know, this list of guys here. Never even heard of this guy, Sam Roush. Who is this? Third round pick, apparently. 6'6", 267, so a big dude. But yeah, like I said, tight ends draft very quickly. I mean, if I was this guy, I probably would do a late Arroyo. Would be a nice flyer. But, you know, he may have his eye on somebody. I guess, you know, just another opportunity cost analysis there is Pat Bryant versus whoever you're getting down here is not going to be much different than Ferguson, you know, or even Freiermuth compared to the tight ends you're getting down here. Really drops off quickly. So Zachariah Branch is somebody who I would have liked to take over here, but That's fine. Guess we have no Las Vegas correlation, but that's okay, because Arizona could just win that game and Jeremiah Love goes crazy. Never know. So 3-4-6-4. So what running backs are we going to be looking for over here? Obviously, Emmanuel Wilson. We might take a 49er. So Caleb, Goff, Rodgers. Nothing really exciting left with those offenses. We do have the Jacksonville, Washington Week 17 set up, so that's nice. If Antonio Williams does carve out a nice little role for himself, that'll be nice. We have a little bit of a Pittsburgh. We do not have Tennessee at all, so probably nothing too exciting from Tennessee. Malachi Fields would be a nice selection here. Dontayvion Wicks again, not the worst late pick. Yeah, Wilson's still there. I'll definitely take Emmanuel Wilson at this point at 216, but I'm sure he'll get scooped up along the way here. Kalen Black's already gone. I guess Emmanuel Wilson bet, you're just making the bet that Jadarian Price is just not good, and then Charbonnet is not the same player coming back, and I'm fine with that bet at 216. But his ADP of 180 range is not so good. All right, now what receiver do we want here? Don't want Christian Kirk. I think we're just going to go ahead and grab Caleb Douglas now. And then set up Jacoby Lane as our final pick. I think he's a better chance to come all the way back around. Because a lot of times Douglas does go in the final round, but I do think, there's that Malik Willis drafter that might have his eye on him. He already has Malik Washington. Chris Bell is gone. So what did this guy do? Okay, so Willis, Ward, Mendoza. Okay. So he just went ultra cheap quarterback. His Dulcich, Hawkinson, and Kelsey as his tight ends. Yeah. So exactly what I don't want to do is the ultra cheap quarterback, ultra cheap tight end. It's just very chalky and just not a lot of upside. You're just gonna even if you get to the finals, I guess Willis, because Willis's upside is really rushing, obviously. Which of these quarterbacks is really having like a 25, 30 point game in the finals for you? I don't know. Ward, maybe. Problem with that is you don't have any Tennessee pass catchers to go with him, so I guess Chase, Brown, Waddle, Parker Washington can all have nice games, but probably bringing a quarterback with him as well. Running back room looks good. You have two Pittsburgh guys, though, so you're kind of capping your upside there. Just a team that... And then at tight end, who's really popping off for your tight ends here? Yeah, just not really what I'm looking to do. So like I said, our last pick, I'm looking at Jacoby Lane, who's a Baltimore draft pick this year. Doesn't, I guess, correlates with Pittsburgh in week 15. This team doesn't have a lot of rookies, but got 4 kind of veteran guys there. Second-year player in Burden, but so take some shots on these guys. I mean, Williams should have a pretty nice role depending on who they sign. Bernard should be the number 3 receiver. Douglas, I'm assuming, is at least in the top 4 receivers in Miami. And then Lane is going to be battling with Rashad Bateman, kind of as like the boundary receiver, kind of like the field, stretching the field kind of guy. So definitely a bet I like to make, especially with like almost 0 ownership. I haven't really seen him drafted at all. I see Surratt going. Bateman, I've already kind of made some bets on, early drafts. I think he's fine. Kind of a little more boring. Do you want to spread out my exposure with Lane a little bit too? He was drafted over Surratt, so similar to the Caleb Douglas theory of, the team themselves is probably a better indicator of playing time versus what draft analysts and guys on Twitter think. So, wow, Jaden Blue, Jahan Dotson, Joe Mixon. Is Joe Mixon even going to play? I guess we'll have to settle his little lawsuit with the Texans and maybe get cut and then go to sign somewhere. Jamari DK is kind of an interesting last pick to pair with Ward, but probably won't play a ton, I'm guessing, unless there's a injury happens or Ridley gets cut or something. But he already took a pay cut, so. All right, so we'll go ahead and lock up Lane here. That's our final pick. All right. Like that pick. So let's go ahead and recap the team here for us. So we have a 3-5-8-4 build. Went ahead and started with a robust running back start of Gibbs, Henry, Jeremiah Love. So a little bit of old, a little bit of young. Probably best player in football, best fantasy player in football. So nice little mix there. We started the receiver room with Burden and JMO. Nice little week 17 correlation. We paired up Caleb with Burden. We grabbed Brian Thomas as a kind of upside, maybe he takes a step forward, Jaguar. Same thesis for Jaden Reed. Need some receivers. Taking that many running backs early, so maybe Jaden Reed stays healthy. Maybe he is the best Packers receiver. Not too crazy. We paired Goff with Gibbs and JMO. We grabbed Gainwell as a kind of weekly floor, a little bit of upside swing as our 4th running back. We ripped off a couple tight ends for the room of Goddard, Sadiq, and Juwan. So a couple kind of boring guys. A little bit of upside left for Goddard. Yeah, obviously he was used so much in the goal line last year. I don't even remember how many touchdowns he had. 13 touchdowns. I mean, obviously if he even has 7 this year, I'm fine with that. Sadiq and Ferguson are our 2 upside swings, kind of late season guys that we want big roles for. Aaron Rodgers, Jeremy Bernard is kind of a little Pittsburgh stack there as our 3rd quarterback. And then we took some swings on some younger, Emmanuel Wilson, 5th running back, just to kind of mix it in, maybe a contingent. Good offense, fine 5th running back for us. We took some swings on rookie receivers. Antonio Williams, maybe they don't bring in a good veteran and he is just the wide receiver 2. Caleb Douglas, Jacoby Lane, maybe they contribute a lot more than their prospect profiles show. So yeah, it's a great team. Exactly how I want to build. Yeah, good 2 drafts today. Gonna go ahead and end the stream there. Appreciate it, everyone. And we will see you probably tomorrow or Monday.